Hello everyone, and welcome to a super interesting discussion where we are launching a new program at Plaksha University, the Grand Challenges Scholars Program. I'm Srishti Malpath. I'm the program manager for GCSP and Student Exchange. We have with us Professor Rucha Joshi, who is the inaugural director of GCSP at Plaksha.
Sure, thank you, Srishti. It feels super excited to come on this platform and talk about the Grand Challenge Scholars Program. We have been working on this program, carving out, developing it for over a year, and it's finally exciting to see all the pieces come together. So very happy to introduce the program and myself. So hi everyone, again Rucha Joshi here. I have a PhD in biomedical engineering from Purdue University, following which I was an assistant professor at University of California, Davis, working on engineering education research as well as biomedical engineering, drug delivery, etc. And now I'm here at Plaksha directing this Grand Challenge Scholars Program as well as teaching our founding cohort on biomedical engineering as well as project-based curriculum. So once again, welcome and happy to talk about Grand Challenge Scholars Program today.
Thanks so much for the introduction, Rucha. Could you give us an overview of GCSP? What's the program and components of it?
Grand Challenge Scholars Program is an international framework chosen by National Academy of Engineering. Plaksha is one of the 92 institutions worldwide that got selected in this program last year. And the Grand Challenge Scholars Program idea is to combine curricular, co-curricular and extracurricular programmatic experiences for students to address one grand challenge that they are passionate in solving about. So it could be water scarcity, it could be educational inequality, it could be accessibility, could be inclusive design, whatever challenge they see and observe in their local context. How can they solve it through 5 dimensions? That's the core behind Grand Challenge Scholars Program. And the 5 cores that I'm talking about that we want to immerse the students in addressing that one challenge they select is entrepreneurship. So basically, how do students preferably develop through experience the necessity of a viable business model for a solution implementation? So that is first. How can they, for the chosen grand challenge, understand multidisciplinarity of the engineering solution and apply it for developing that solution? And also third is the multicultural component. So understanding different cultures, preferably through multicultural experience to ensure cultural acceptance of the solution they are developing for that engineering problem. The fourth is the talent competency, most important one, where we have a high expectation of engagement from students for a mentored research activity that can be accomplished through a research thesis or a project or an internship, as well as the last competency here being the social consciousness. So having students understand that the engineering solutions should primarily serve the society and the people's needs, so reflecting on their social consciousness here. Right. So those are the 5 angles, dimensions of the program, immersing students in a coherent and connected manner into the Grand Challenge Scholars.
That sounds amazing. The kind of competencies and how you explain them, it sounds like an all-rounded approach to solving one grand challenge. As a follow-up, Rucha, I know that you run this course, ILGC Innovation Lab Grand Challenges, since the first semester onwards. Just for our students' clarification, how do you see GCSP different as an extension of ILGC? Could you please?
Definitely. So on the slide here, we see that the placement of ILGC, which is the Innovation Lab Grand Challenge course, a signature feature of Plaksha's curriculum, is a compulsory part of the curriculum right from first year till the 4th year. In fact, the first 3 years preparing the students for that capstone experience of design. And being a compulsory element, students can engage in the faculty exploratory research projects in ILGC, or they could take an industry problem statement, or it could be a service learning. it's also meant to be a vertically integrated project that could be decoupled from their academic curriculum. Meaning wherever they're passionate, the semester could just act as the pause and they can continue on that project. Now, all that experience of ILGC does not necessarily require students to come at solving the problem from all the other 4 or 5 dimensions, which are entrepreneurial, social, multicultural, multidisciplinary, etc. It focuses on having them solve a problem through research or through tinkering and through design thinking, but not necessarily through all these 5 angles that they could employ through co-curricular and extracurricular activities. And that is the major, I would say, difference. But I also want to highlight that Grand Challenge Scholars Program, the placement of it and its introduction in this 4th semester gives them a chance to be doing these activities as a complementary part to the ILGC course. So the idea is to build upon their research skills and immerse them into these different dimensions, give them these different lenses, not to add on to the plate, but to have a quality to what actually they have been doing in solving the grand challenges.
Right, that's awesome. So you mean that ILGC is part of their curriculum from the first semester onwards, but GCSP is a application-based selective program where students who are keen on taking this up for the next 3 years can do it. Yeah. This also reminds me about, like how Plaksha has become the talk of the town because of its cutting-edge majors, and now with GCSP, it also hits the new education policy that talks about mandatory credit-based courses or engagements on community engagement and field-based learning. So I think GCSP fits quite right in that box. Rucha, to take this forward and to understand about what kind of projects or problem statements the students would be working on, could you help us with some examples on that?
Absolutely. And as you see some icons on the slide here, there is number of problems students can observe in their local context. Things like global warming, for example. When we talk of these big words, what does that mean to a person individually? How do they relate to that? So that problem needs to be broken down to a local context, something that they experience, feel, observe, and can articulate into their own words as a problem statement, right? So I can take an example of lack of safe drinking water, right? Perhaps the students could have friends here or localities in the nearby villages which lack the access to the safe drinking water, and as a result might have to travel more than 20 kilometers to just get that access, right? And so the problem statement here could be to have that safe drinking water at their disposal in those communities, right? How do we enable that? And then there could be a multidisciplinarity angle to this. So while building a solution, one could be in biosystems major or they could be in robotics major, and they could attack that problem from their own disciplinary thought process, but they have to bring in through GCSP also another discipline. So somebody from a biological systems engineering, for example, would have to get, how do I apply maybe robotics and or AI for solving this problem, right? Similarly, they could take entrepreneurial workshops and they could think about, I now have to think about scaling up the solution. What are some of the ways I could make this feasible for scaling up or for acceptance in the community, right? Maybe sometimes the solution that is accepted in one locality may not be accepted in another locality or another culture. So they'll also have to think through the multicultural angle. How do they solve this problem of lack of safe drinking water for another culture, adding that multicultural competency and so on. There's many more examples like the garbage sorting, so the mixture of plastic and biodegradable and non-biodegradables that we see in day-to-day lives, or the food wastage on a day-to-day basis that the students can see in the canteen, or the fresh produce transport problem where the food doesn't quite reach on time, and as a result gets a lot of wastage. Also the air quality that we breathe, so the domestic air quality, or the electronics waste management where you and I using this phone, what happens to that? Where does that land? And is any of those recyclable, or how can we manage that electronics waste more efficiently for building a healthy planet? So that's the thought process we want to guide them towards, choosing one problem at a time that they see, observe, experience, articulating that through empathy, defining it further through interviewing stakeholders, etc. And then tinkering or ideating, how can I solve that through these multiple angles?
Right.
One thing I want to really emphasize, and I'm excited to say this, is that while we will push students through this program to pick local context problems, we also would encourage them to relate these problems with sustainable development goals that the United Nations has launched. So each of the problem can be related with the larger UN SDGs that the whole world is today trying to solve. And so there is that bigger going from micro level to the macro level journey that they'll see that what they're solving is actually helping the world through one of these sustainable development goals frameworks as well.
Right. No, that sounds amazing. Many students today are looking forward to making an impact or a change in the society, and GCSP sounds like a great fit there, where you start by identifying a local problem, but also there's a bigger vision to it. Plus, something that really excited me while you're talking about it is the fact that it's a program that has flexibility for each individual student to carve out their own project process. There's nothing designed for them, but they have the opportunity to interact with external stakeholders, plan the way that they want to take up this program ahead. So that's very exciting. But also that reminds me of just the Plaksha's ecosystem, right? There's so much happening at Plaksha. We are in the phase of institution building. So the amount of, like you mentioned about hygiene, sanitization, food wastage, water wastage. There's so many projects on ground that students can leverage on. And you mentioned about the entrepreneurial component, right? With Plaksha having a network of 50+ founders, we can only imagine the amount of approach they can have, direct approach to the business environment and to learn from there. Also, as I was part of the student life team before this, I've seen students working on various clubs, from community service to helping out communities and societies around our campus. So I think just the Plaksha ecosystem would play such an important role in helping our students to take this program ahead.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree with you more. And I think also the cherry on the cake is the research centers that are being carved out. So be it like climate research or energy center, or even in education, the Center for Innovation in Education, the CRISPR research, you name it. And then we are trying to build the top-notch cutting-edge research centers on those areas, right? And the students could leverage that ecosystem. Also, not just within the four walls of Plaksha, but also Chandigarh having 150 educational institutions around us, be it ISER Mohali, ISP, or the other service learning opportunities like the Blind School, the Institute for Blinds in Chandigarh, and so on. So we are situated at this perfect place and the juncture of the time to, I think, enable students think about these grand challenges and address them through the right use of technology.
Right. That's amazing. So, Rucha, moving forward, I think something that students would be really excited to know is the time commitment for the program, or like what do they have to do as part of the program? So can you give a brief of it, and then we can discuss that further?
Definitely, yeah. So I think if we can go to the next slide, please. The info sessions and the fireside chats like the one that we are having right now are meant to give students information about this program, increase awareness about the possibilities to unleash their creativity on grand challenges front, right? So this will happen all in the semester 3. Semester 4, we are hoping to have them submit at the start of the semester 4 individual learning paths, which is their idea of how do they want to achieve each of these 5 competencies that I talked about. What do they propose they would do in order to satisfy each of this competency? Followed by, in summer of 2023, for example, we'll start with the elective course GCSP 1 that will immerse them especially into the field learning, to the social immersion, looking at these grand challenges in Punjab and around us, and then it will be followed with the elective course Grand Challenge 2 in the consecutive summer term of 2024, building on what they were exposed to and creating that solution. Right. So there is not just an end to that. We will have an incremental focus on having them continue the work. Maybe they started in the course project or they have been doing through immersing in these other competencies like the entrepreneurship or workshops or the research thesis or independent research work with faculty or outside Plaksha student exchange programs or internships or the participation into the other service learning activities, but chosen all of these in a conscious manner so that they are all directed towards solving that one grand challenge that they decided to pick initially. We'll also have grand challenge symposiums in between in semester 7, and finally all of this will culminate into the portfolio at the end of the semester 8 that they'll have to submit. I would love to invite you to talk about also the other sort of deliverables and the engagement expectations on these competencies, please.
Right. So, I mean, as we discussed, there's this 5 competencies and students would be working on it from starting off semester 4 until the end of semester 8. So, I think it's good for them to know what is the expected time engagement to work on each competency. Of course, really differentiating work on each competency might not be possible, but the whole program deliverables that we've planned based on the kind of submissions they would do. Apart from the elective course, there's a project portfolio, a reflective essay that they have to write as part of each competency work, and which could be graded, say, midterm or at the end of each semester, plus the logbook that they have to maintain with number of hours versus the kind of tasks they've been involved in, the kind of partnerships they've done externally, which will give also them an idea of how they're progressing and how much work have they completed, because they have almost 4 to 5 semesters for the whole program, right? So even for them to have a direction of their progress, I think the logbook, reflective essay and the portfolio preparation would really help. And on the time engagement, as we, I think as the last slide displayed, the 2 courses that we'd be running would mostly be emphasized on social consciousness and multicultural components. The other 3 components, research, entrepreneurship, and multidisciplinary, would be slightly on, would be given more freedom on how they engage in these, but that'd be around 60 to 30 hours of time engagement per competency. That's mostly, I think, about the program deliverables, but we shall be doing another detailed session where we only speak about the logistics and program requirements for the course. So as we're coming to the end of this discussion, Rucha, for me especially, I'm really excited about the angle of social immersion and multicultural experience that students would get, which otherwise as part of the engineering curriculum doesn't come into picture, especially the kind of interactions they would have with NGOs in the service learning aspect, in the assistive technology that we've been talking about. That's something I'm very keen on seeing how students progress further. But what about you? What about GCSP excites you the most, and what's the vision that you see for GCSP in the upcoming years?
Wow, a loaded question there. I think mainly the excitement I have about this program is the fact that it is providing that impedance match between where we expect our next generation of innovators and leaders to provide talent to be able to address these grand challenges, right? And so the requirement here entails not just the skill sets, but also the right mindsets, like the systems thinking or the entrepreneurial mindset or the research ability to dive into a problem and multicultural angle, etc. So that impedance match is provided through this program by combining these extracurricular, curricular, co-curricular experiences for credit, right? So we are providing, this is a 4-credit program that we are offering as an elective right now, and I think what could be more exciting than being able to solve these grand challenges through these multiple avenues and get a credit on the transcript for it, right? So I wish I was a student and could take this program myself right now, but it's equally exciting to also develop and sculpt it. I think the 5-year vision that I can comment on right now is to be able to make the world more sustainable, healthy, joyful, and secure through building the right students who are empowered to solve these grand challenges. And so we are aiming at 250 plus grand challenge scholars graduating after this 5-year period, 150 plus student projects, as well as students with exchange experience to be more than 100 plus, and then more than 50 plus partners, NGOs, institutions, or corporates coming to support this vision, and more excitedly, more than 20,000 plus hours of service learning happening on this campus and outside to support this vision of solving grand challenges.
Wow, that sounds really amazing. It wants me to sign up for the GCSP program. I think it has such a big vision and a purpose that you get out of being part of such a program which is of global eminence, and the kind of experiences like you're talking about, the student exchange experience, social immersion, working on a project, being able to work with so many other stakeholders externally out of the university. That sounds like a lot to gain from at the end of this program. So I really hope that students who are listening to this right now are equally pumped up to sign up for GCSP. Thank you so much, Rucha. Do you have anything else to add before we close?
Absolutely. Just one more point. Do check out, I think, the website that we are in the process of designing now, but will be launched soon. Do check out it for all the details for GCSP and the application form that's out there, and get it in by the deadline so that we can guide you and help you carve the path to be this grand challenge scholars eminently recognized by the National Academy of Engineering in the world. So stay tuned, and we'll bring this exciting in this exciting series more speakers as we unveil this program, right?
Awesome. Thanks so much, Rucha, for joining, and thank you everybody. We'll come back to you with the next series of interviews and discussions pretty soon.